why it will fail. Why it will fail. Hello everyone, my name is Persohn. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church or in the comments below. Well, I had my whole recording rig set up just beautifully. I was very happy with it, got the lighting right, got the sound right, everything. And then I thought I'm just going to run an update my operating system, update my OBS studio, and the thing just keeps on resetting during recordings. Was so frustrated. It went from perfection to totally miserable at the click of an update. I bet you've had that happen with your electronics as well. So not to be deterred, I have just flipped back to the other laptop for a moment with some slightly different sound. I hope this is going to work for you. What is going to fail? What will not succeed? Well, the thing that is going to fail, we're going to see the end of it, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon in our lifetime, I believe, is the thing we call wokeness. Wokeness. Man, I tell you what a word. So when we talk about wokeness, we have to associate a large number of things with it. Wokeness is actually a modern form of communism, and included in that you'll find cancel culture, political correctness, environmentalism, critical race theory. It's in the woke framework where people ask questions like, what is a woman? And they can't answer the question. You hear government leaders say, well, I'm not a biologist, or in this context, I wouldn't be able to know what a woman is. I wouldn't dare say. And we have the most vulgar phrases being used even officially about women and about mothers and so on. I don't need to talk about those. I'm sure most of my audience has been exposed to them. Well, this is not really something that's going to last for a long time, but it will be with us for a while. And as you are aware, my fundamental ministry is to the people that are in church on Sunday morning. And this video channel, which is just a few subscribers and not too many viewers, is really a supplement to them. So you kind of get a shortened down version of the Sunday message. And so that's why the messages kind of vary a little bit, because I have a commitment to go through all the doctrines over a couple of year period. And what you get in a Sunday morning is a fair bit broader and beefier, a lot more chatty. There may be some interaction with the audience, which I don't have with yourselves, which, oh well, there you go. Well, in the wonderful world of woke, what drives the wonderful world of woke? Maybe we should say who drives it. From the very top, it's of course driven by big money. There are agendas at hand that are a little bit hard to understand, but I can package them quickly for you. What we're really seeing is Fabian socialism. Just grab a drink here. For some reason, I'm a touch hoarse. It's kind of an urbane communism that's worked its way through our society over many years, several generations. And it's really kind of come to this. What we're talking about, what we're viewing, has been done in the past. It was done with the greatest precision by Mao Zedong in communist China. Was much cruder under Stalin and didn't happen in the same way under Lenin. But by the time Mao took power, you started hearing about, or people heard about Han supremacy. We hear about other types of supremacy now. Systems of power, they use slightly different language, but we really inherited it. Now, what drives it in our culture, in our society, of course, is big money, but it's also a sense of entitlement. It's infantilized adults. It is activists, hacktivists, oh my, a lot of them. And at this point, I'm actually not as negative, not as critical of things as I could be and as some others are. Let me put a passage from the book of Proverbs on the screen for you that will explain to you where we are. Where there is no prophetic vision, the people cast off restraint. But blessed is he who keeps the law. This is the best translation of that passage. It's not where we've had it overused or misused. Let's just give it to you here. Where there's no prophetic vision, the people cast off restraint. But blessed is he who keeps the law. So what is the prophetic vision? It's the law of God. It's the Word of God. When the law is not there, when people are not aware of a divine law or a law above themselves, they cast off restraint. They just don't care. Now, in this world of woke, TikTok show me just how bizarre and how extreme I can be, and then compliment me for my behavior, you're really seeing many people who've cast off restraint, and then those around them applauding them and cheering and so on. I think you know what I'm talking about. You shouldn't be praised for this. Something on the inside of you says you've cast off all restraint. You have no discipline. You haven't controlled the way that you're living, and you want everybody to change the way that they speak or the way that they live to accommodate you. This, of course, is the root of this is a thing called identity politics. Now, all of this has an umbrella over it, which is a beautiful word that has become badly used. It's become ugly in its use. All of these things we're talking about, this whole political correctness thing and so on and so forth, critical race theory and the whole identity politics thing has an umbrella over it. And this umbrella is represented by a beautiful word that is now an ugly word. What is the word? Sustainability. Sustainability. How many times have you heard we need to live in sustainable communities? When we first heard it, it was, yes, well, a mother sustains her child. Seems reasonable. This food will sustain you. But now, of course, we've come to realize this is not quite what those who have pushed this, the reshaping of this word on us, meant by it. What they mean by it is there are too many people and you useless eaters need to be put in a corner and stop reproducing or something like that. Well, I believe that all of this thinking, this whole wokeness thing, is nearing its end. Now, by the way, it's taken over 100 years to get here, but I think it will leave us in a shorter period of time than this. This passage is really interesting. Where the law of God does not exist, people cast off restraint. Now, if you're working in a world where you're constantly looking over your shoulders and constantly wondering if you said the right thing or said the wrong thing, if you ask yourself why you can't get a job because someone from some other group got it who didn't earn it or whatever, life can become a lot like pushing a big weight up a hill. You can feel alone and you can feel like there just is no real way that you can ever get ahead, that you can ever accomplish anything, that you can ever amount to anything. And I think that's part of the agenda. You can actually get to the place where you feel very, very alone in that whole kind of environment. I know what it's like. I know it's like, well, have I offended someone? What if I have offended someone? Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got a big mouth like me, you really end every day saying, who didn't I offend? Truthfully, like, goodness me, especially in my kind of secular work, I don't really abide fools that well. I don't abide stupidity very well. And I just pretty quickly want to jump on someone and think, Well, imagine that every day, constantly, you're wondering if you've offended this group or that group or whatever. And then something you might have said 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, especially if you're in the public eye, comes back to haunt you, even though it was an off-the-cuff comment. Dear me. Then you say, well, what can I say today? Because maybe in 3 to 4 years' time, something that is perfectly acceptable today is going to be banned then, and then I'll be canceled and whatever. So I fully understand, and I fully appreciate that. Well, why do I have a sense of optimism about some of those things that are out there? The point here is that there's been a lot of money to drive those things. There's been a lot of money in the world to make those things happen. I'm going to read to you a passage from the book of Proverbs and other passage from Proverbs. No, this is from Ecclesiastes, I should say, that really just shows this up beautifully. Let's pop it up on the screen. Ecclesiastes is where I happen to be reading at the moment, and this jumped off the screen when I was thinking about this message here. Here we go. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This is also vanity. This is from Ecclesiastes 5. What a wonderful book and what a great chapter. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. And excuse me, and what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes. Sweet is the sleep of a laborer, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. Okay, here is the passage, the verse here, the phrase I want you to pay attention to. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. Wow. Have you ever heard the phrase, your spending rises up to meet the level of your wealth or something like that? Well, I think King Solomon said it first. As there are more goods, there's more people around to eat them. Well, what's happening? Everywhere you look, you see an economy that's crashing. You see that we're heading into an economic winter, a time of pullback. There's a number of things have contributed to this. Some things have been, I think, have been done intentionally, but I think other things are out of the control of our governments, even our banks. It's like we just have to let this thing slide now. It's going to be very interesting. What does that mean? It means that a lot of the money that's gone to support some of this silly wokeness is going to dry up. We already see it in big media overseas. We see some media giants who are forced now to step back because people don't buy a lot of these things. You probably heard the phrase, go get woke, go broke. Well, that has happened to two of the major entertainment arms in the United States at the moment. One is just desperate, flailing around with crashing stocks. Not going to mention any names here. That's not my thing. But crashing stocks. They have really no new content. And it's like, well, what are we doing here? People are leaving. They're not watching. They don't want to watch this stuff. They don't want to be preached to by smirking celebrities. They don't like the idea of government overreach. They don't like their language being controlled. They don't always like to be virtue signaled by things. And they say, we're not paying the money. There's another very large organization, massive, huge, deep pockets, that is in so much trouble that the investors in this company are calling the directors and the CEOs and the board, the CEO and the board members directly in their homes and screaming at them saying, you're getting rid of all, you're wiping out all our money. Stop, stop, stop. And these big organizations have to step back and say, people don't buy this. And I can tell you this pendulum is swinging from an extreme slowly back to something more like the center position. What's that going to mean? Well, I think don't think that the opportunity for hardworking people has never gone away. The planet works in meritocracy form. It might not look like it does. What's a meritocracy? A meritocracy promotes based on quality and skill and achievement and the willingness to work hard. That's how the planet works. That's how things are put into the system. For a while, it's kind of been hidden to us in the whole woke world, but that's not going to last. That's slowly changing. In fact, I can kind of predict an age coming back, which you might want to call the age of the dirty job. There's jobs that will always have to be done. Always have to do garbage collection and always have to do plumbers, laborers, and always have to do brickies, laborers, and always have to do some ugly things. Some of us might have to take some of that work. I've actually done that myself, just to be sure I'm up to it. Gone back to tool type work, saying, right, I can do this and I'm prepared to do it. I would never suggest this to anyone if I was not prepared to do it myself. And it's been an interesting journey. Now, I still have some other things on the other side, so that's not the point. The issue here is, if I suggest that this is the way the world is going, I better be prepared to eat my own cooking. Now, what does that do for us? How can I motivate you? What can I do to encourage you today? Ladies and gentlemen, it is fortune favors the hardworking. Diligence always has a reward. I really, really like something Mike Tyson said, and it is it's kind of a commentary on a proverb that talks about whatever your hand does, do it with all your heart. Whatever you set your hand to do, do it with all your heart. The proverb could be expounded a little bit, because you see, we often set our hands to things we like to do. And we often do those with gusto, and we often do those things with drive and say, yes, I really like to do this. I'm going to throw myself at it. But what about those necessary things we don't like doing that produce a high reward? What about those things that we say, I just don't want to do that? I believe that life, that God blesses people who have the right attitude about those things. When you have the right attitude about those things, you're able to deal with the obstacles of life, and you're able to take charge. What was Mike Tyson's quote? Let's see if I can dig it up here. Ah, yes. Well, look, I've got a couple of good little pictures here about, I should have put this up earlier, about the kind of people who are telling us how we're supposed to live. All those virtue signalers out there who are telling us that we're not good enough and that we're ists or phobes or whatever. Most of the people we hear telling us that have their snouts in a trough somewhere. They're being paid to do that very thing. They're being paid to talk down to you. Even celebrities who preach to you about this or about that, they're being paid to talk down to you. Of course they are. How many of you were ready to climb out of your tree in early 2020 when we saw celebrities sitting down on the steps in their 25-room mansions with 7 bathrooms and so on, talking about how hard it was to stay indoors during the problems of 2020 and 2021? You think, oh no, poor what's his name? Come on, folks. First of all, they didn't believe what they were telling you. Secondly, don't you hate being preached at by the smug celebrities? Don't you just hate it? Well, a lot of the people who preach at us have their snouts in a trough like those pigs. Very few of them have actually ever really got their hands dirty and done real work. Okay, so those are 2 pictures I had that were just too good. I just had to show them to you. They're, stuff you can get on the web, if you just, it's allowed to use them in public environments. What did Mike Tyson say that I'm going to leave you with that might give you a chance to share some of my optimism about the time that we are in today? Does that even make sense? Well, let's get the Tyson quote up, make some comments, and then I will leave you. What is my time like? Hey, not doing too bad. Mike Tyson said, "My definition of discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it." Of course, this is Twitter where you don't get a chance to form sentences particularly properly. Let's do it again, reading point by point. My definition of discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. Ladies and gentlemen, can I inspire you today? Those things that are valuable, those things that you need to do that you might not want to do, maybe learn how to set up a new business, maybe understand how to improve your skills or whatever. I'm not in your shoes, I don't know, but I think I've given you some of a chance to think about this. Those things you don't want to do, I don't want to do that today. I don't want to learn. Tyson says, do the things that you hate to do, but do them like you love them. Do them with all of your heart. What do I have to say? What's Pastor Al have to say to you today? Yes, we're in a dark time. The dark time is not over just yet, but the change is coming. And the blessings are going to come to those who work hard, those who are diligent, those who take themselves seriously, who have a good relationship with God, and are ready to make a difference. I think the world looks at hardworking people with a kind of quiet envy. Will you join me in this journey? I think it's worth doing. My name is Persohn. Today we've taken a bit of a journey away from our normal topics today, and I said why it will fail. What am I talking about? Wokeness. A lot of the stupidity around us will fail as the economy crashes and then rebuilds. Are you ready to be part of the rebuild? God bless you. We will talk to you again.